We're going to talk to Mike Buckley in a second. Let's just have a look at Keir Starmer and his vows, making a speech yesterday in Staffordshire.
We've been campaigning since day one with a smile on our face, with a spring in our step, with a very positive case to take the country about change. And if you're a family that's been struggling for months and years with the bills bearing down on you because of the cost of living crisis, if you're a business that's been struggling for years because of the damage that's been done to the economy by this government, if you've served in uniform or served your community, then this campaign, this Labour campaign, is for you, and this fight for change is for you, because the choice at this election is clear and it is stark. We've had 14 years now of chaos, division and failure. We'll get more of the same if the Tories are back on Friday morning, or we can turn the page, or we can start to rebuild our country with Labour.
Keir Starmer there, wanting to rebuild the country with Labour. Mike Buckley's here with us. Mike, very good morning to you. They'll be making some plans for Nigel, as they say in XTC, won't they, today? Because the in-tray is pretty full. We've got a couple of stories this morning saying the first crisis Keir Starmer will have to deal with is the prisons crisis. He's got quite a few crises to deal with, hasn't he?
He is going to arrive with quite a number of crises to deal with. As we all know, I mean, people are approaching this election with a whole set of hopes and feelings about the last 14 years, the lives that they experienced, you know, their personal lives in terms of access to the NHS, their professional lives, the business they run, the businesses that they work for, the wage rises that they haven't seen, the cost that we've seen going up. All of these are things that he needs to deal with. Obviously, that's kind of centred around the economy and the health service. But there's also things like education. You know, people are sending their kids to schools. The schools can't afford to buy pens or pencils or exercise books for them. We drive down roads with potholes. We take trains that are late or don't turn up. He has a whole set of crises to deal with. But of course, internationally, there's a lot of crises to deal with as well. We look at the ongoing war in Ukraine, the ongoing conflict in Gaza, very sadly, and indeed conflicts around the world as well. Indeed, Keir will arrive next week and take, if you see me, he wins and take power in the UK, and then immediately be off to a NATO summit. And then next week, or the 18th, I think, is the European Political Community, which is a Europe-wide meeting that we're hosting here in the UK. So he'll be thrust into a foreign policy world as well. So he won't have time to catch his breath.
And does he have, would you say, a kind of an idea pretty much of every single cabinet member that he wants to have? Or does that process not begin until Friday?
I would imagine he's got that 100% nailed down. I'd be staggered if he didn't. I mean, they've had more than enough time to think about it. He, of course, has had a shadow cabinet in place, and it's been some time since he had a reshuffle. I would imagine the vast majority of those people will be carried over into government in the same post. I don't think Keir is the kind of person that wants to tinker unnecessarily. You might see one or two changes because obviously there will be people coming into Parliament that Keir may know particularly well or have a great amount of respect for, some returning MPs perhaps from previous parliaments, but also some of the new intake as well. But I would imagine for the vast part, majority of the part, the people that you see around the shadow cabinet table in the footage that you're just looking at now are the people that will be around the cabinet table, indeed appearing on your TV screens and radio and explaining government policy to you in coming weeks.
I mean, one of the interesting positions that people are talking about is Foreign Secretary, because a lot of people seem to think that David Lammy might not get that. What are you hearing?
I have no idea why people think that. I think David Lammy is very, very good at his job. I think he's excellent. I think he's worked incredibly hard and he's incredibly bright. I think his heart is 110% in the right place. I know that he spent a lot of time as Shadow Foreign Secretary building alliances across Europe, visiting the States and many of our other allies as well. So I think he's coming into this job prepared, capable, and also just very astute about the UK, but at our place in the world, but also about the world as it is. I mean, I also think, to be honest, that it will be nigh on. I think he will get the job because he's the right person. I also think it's very difficult to remove the only ethnic minority senior person in the top 4 jobs and put a white person in there, which is often mooted. I would be staggered to see that happen presentationally, but also just in terms of justice. But he won't get the job for that reason. He'll get the job because he's the right person. He's doing it incredibly well.
Well, let's see about that. I mean, he hasn't done anything yet. So, I mean, that's the very interesting thing about a Labour government is that they're very untested. They haven't, most of them haven't ever been in a cabinet, apart, I think, from Yvette Cooper. So, you know, you can't really say they were doing a great job if they haven't done it yet.
Yeah, I think what I'm saying is he's done a great job as Shadow. And in fact, David Lammy was in Parliament prior to 2010.
Yeah, no, sure. Ed Davey has been still appealing for voters because he may well indeed end up as a bigger party, although listening to the Ipsos guy, I'm not sure if this is true, but it may well be the Lib Dems are not far off the Tories as an opposition party.
It may be, and we don't know because the MRP polls that have come out, indeed all the polls and the seat projections that have come out, there's been quite a spread there of how many seats Labour's going to get, how many seats the Conservatives are going to get, how many seats the Liberal Democrats are going to get. There have been a few, a very small number, showing the Liberal Democrats will get more seats than the Conservatives. That's not impossible. We may wake up on Friday morning and find that Ed Davey is leader of the opposition. And that would have, who knows what impact that would have on our politics and our political debate in coming years. But it may be that people sort of pretend that the Conservatives are still the opposition, even though they wouldn't be. But my guess is, because most polls have not shown that, is that Rishi Sunak will be leader of the opposition, assuming the polls are correct, and the Liberal Democrats will remain in third place. But actually, they'll be incredibly happy to be in third place in Parliament because, of course, they haven't been in that position since 2015 because the SNP have been in third spot. So being in third place gets them a weekly spot at Prime Minister's questions, which is important for them. But it should also get them some more media attention, which I think they'll be very happy about.
Indeed. Mike, thanks very much indeed. Mike Buckley there, political commentator. Let's have